the next one speed. And then you can put it hourly and. How do you do that?
So the babies are getting more ordinance. No. Oh, yes.
So I think it's that. Going back to Lowe's, got a, they gave me the real time.
No, but when the code worked, everything.
I don't know.
Back.
Who's the one who wants that, right?
Okay. So launch shading, that looks. Now we could.
Take her right, get your shape, cable.
Out and then.
It's like a huge,
Um.
oh, okay.
Oh. All right.
Maybe collectively, they, I can go better. I hope so.
Variable.
Maybe they turn the computer on you. Then
The double dose of John today. Oh, this is delayed.
Yeah, it's very late. It's like 7 seconds.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
terrifying.
John, I have.
We spoke all-
Otherwise,
So let me see.
I haven't tried to get on that computer yet to see what.
Can I share screen?
Yeah, you still want to share.
Share like the entire screen. I don't know, since it's private, it's like the same. Okay, there we go.
This is very. This is my.
And that's.
Share button, yeah.
Yeah, this one's a share.
No, that's share the screen.
Notice to the bottom.
Okay.
Then we can-
Is that the one that's been sitting on, let me show you, she's on that one. There we are.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay.
No, I was behind that one.
Because I want this as a screen.
Yeah. I see my tweet.
PowerPoint.
So you got. Okay. I just gotta do a loop real fast and I'll do that.
Alright.
So happy. A couple, well, no, I did everything where I.
Whoops.
And that actually. Yeah, I'm so happy. So there is. I want to. I'm trying to run it. I'm walking about right now, the list that's gonna be my head here. I get top, that's why I'm and I'm web to there.
Yeah, I was in a show, my 4th tennis class, something.
Is it on, is it
Right.
I mean, it is.
Back.
I was successful. Okay. Take it away, Bill, whenever.
Oh, hey, thank you.
You don't need an introduction.
Oh, great.
We know you, we got, you know you.
You do know me.
I do.
Well, good morning, everybody. So it's October in Pennsylvania. It kind of feels that way. I guess there's some interesting weather the next week.
Wait, hold on, that's
That feedback is freaking me out.
No, so him is
I'm
not.
just doing that.
Twice too much.
Yes, seriously, 3 times.
Okay,
I made it.
now that we can hear.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. Let's go back. Okay, so I'm happy to be doing the Ken Reeves Memorial Briefing. Ken and I graduated in 1983. Ken worked at AccuWeather quite a while, and he was a big force in getting AccuWeather and Penn State to be buddies again after a few years of a contentious relationship, I'd say. And we miss him. But it's nice to honor him in this way. And I'm happy to do it. So I'll start, since I run the weather station, by talking about our climatology a little bit. Temperature, precipitation, snow. Winter's coming, so snow is usually an interest to weather weedies. It is to me anyway. And then we'll finish up by going through the forecast for the week, the rest of the month, and winter, although I don't trust the rest of the month and winter's forecast very much. We'll talk a little about that. Okay, so first question I have Why am I giving you October 10th State College statistics? Since it's only October 9th. Can anybody tell me that? Dennis?
Because today's data is reported tomorrow.
Yes, that's right. So whatever happens today goes in the record books at State College as October 10th. So average high, this is about 130 years of data, is about 64. If you go to the 30-year average, this is not the normal, okay, it's not smooth or anything. 30-year average at 67, as for the 10-year average. So a little bit warmer in the past 30 years than the long-term average. Average lows around 44. They, however, go up quite a bit the shorter the averaging period you use. More recently, our average is 49 for tomorrow morning. We will be below that because we were in the low 40s this morning. And in the 24-hour period, our low temperature can't be any higher than that. So we'll be below average tomorrow morning. Record high for the date is 86, nowhere close to that. Record low is 25. So that's what you can expect. And we'll fall closer to the averages than we will to any records, but it's going to be a little bit chilly today. Okay. Another question I have for you. The average daily range is about 21 degrees. If you go to December, it's about 13. Why do you think there's a difference between October and December? Average temperature range for the day. Nobody in the back row, because they know the answer to this. What do you think? What's different about December than this time in October? Overall in State College, what would decrease the diurnal temperature range? What do you think, Matt?
I'm gonna take two guesses. One just
Well,
because
take the good one first.
okay. I'm gonna guess and say that has to do with the amount of sun we get in like the front, like just the systems and the fronting, because in the October we got a lot more like variation in our temperature because of
Yeah, why is that? Why is there more variation? You were close, you were getting there. What about the sunlight? What about sunshine? When do you think it's sunnier, in October or December?
October.
Okay, so more cloudiness.
You have more cloudiness in December, therefore less variation in our temperature.
Good. Yeah, because it'll keep it a little cooler in the daytime, all else being equal, or warmer at night. Good, good, awesome. Knew we could get that out of you somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then just that little comment there, you know, how many days are actually going to be normal over the course of a year where you have the exact normal high and normal low? Very few. Okay, so typical weather is not necessarily normal weather. All right, October statistics in general, the average high for the entire month is 62. Okay. And the past 10 years, similar. Average low for the month in the low 40s, except for the past 10 years where it's in the mid 40s. Record high is 90, that happened on the 7th in 1941. Record low high is 31, that happened on the 27th in 1962. Record low is 16 for the whole month, Halloween 88. And the maximum low is 70, believe it or not. We got a low of 70 on the 5th. 1898. So it did get warm 100 plus years ago. That's pretty fascinating. That's one of the more surprising statistics. The average liquid equivalent for the month of October is about 3 inches. Okay, although look at the last 10 years, whole inch higher. So we've had at least one very wet October in that 10-year period. Wettest October, well, not too wet. In the past 10 years, because the wettest one happened in 1976, we're at 7.5 inches. Driest one was really dry, less than 1/10 of an inch of rain in 63. Average snowfall in this month is very misleading because you either get snow or you don't, usually measurable snow in October. And that kind of bears out when you look at the averages. So it's 0.2 over 130 years, 0.4 over 30 years. Okay, but a trace in 10. So if you get a 4-inch snowfall every 10 years, your average is 0.4, right? So what we're saying is, you know, every 10 years or so, you get about a 2-inch snowfall. And more than 10 years ago, we had a 4-inch in October. So that biases the averages. Snowiest day 2009, 4.7 inches of snow. So October's not very snowy. But you do usually see your first flurries. And yesterday, was anybody looking at the sky yesterday afternoon? It's very Octobery. You could see the melting snow level. And there were a few sprinkles falling, at least in Bollesburg, and you could see where the visibility, you see the cloud, then you could see this stuff below it, Virga, and then you couldn't see anything below it, but it was raining. That was the melting layer, and you see that a lot this time of year. So keep your eye to the sky, at least when you're not crossing the street. You keep track of the weather. How warm has it been this year? Third warmest to date. This is as of the 6th. I did this before the weekend. Hasn't changed much. Gonna be hard to have the warmest year on record. We still have a shot at number 2, I suppose. But if you look at all the years that were warm out of 130, 2000s, 2000, 2000, 2000, 2000, 2000. So what's that? 7 out of 10 in this century. Okay. Year to date, the blues are the daily highs and lows. The reds and lighter blues are the records, and this is where you'd expect the range to be. Notice the bigger diurnal range. Summertime, smaller range, December, Matthew, you said why. So, not the most exciting year. We've had a couple record highs. No challenging record lows really during the year. And it's about 3 degrees Fahrenheit above average. Long-term average so far this year. Okay. If you just look at the annual temperatures and where they've been since 1894, 1893, it's going up. If you just do a simple linear trend, but you see early in the period, then there was this leveling off in the 20s through about 1950, and it looked like it got colder for a bit, and we're coming back up. So I don't make any real generalizations about that, although we are a growing city. That adds to the heating in State College. And of course, there's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now than there was just years ago. Okay, why do I have March? Anyway, well, we don't want that one. Okay, seasonal. 109, that's the best we can hope for, at least given the data that we have in State College. 1993, 94, that was our big snow season. 1995, 96 was next. And that 99 inches, I think it all, at least the vast majority of that fell by the end of January. And then it shut off. We were really on pace for a kick butt year. And we had it, but it could have been better. 98, 92. So you see 3 of the top 4 were in the 90s, in the early 90s. So that's fascinating to me when I see parents of prospective students come by and they think Penn State, they didn't live here except when they were in school in the early 90s. They think it's the snowiest place on earth. Oh, how little do they know about our weather. So there's hope beyond hope. You get over 100 inches, you're having a heck of a great season in State College. Okay, and here is a long-term range of snowfall, seasonal snowfall, from 1893-94 through 2022-23. And what do you see? You see some asterisks on there that I'll get to. These asterisks tend to be low snowfall years. And the long-term trend, this is a 5-year moving average. I don't know if there's a long-term trend really, but you can see how the 90s, at least those 3 years stood out pretty nicely. There was a low one in there though. And then lately we've really been just nothing big, nothing big. Haven't had a big snowfall year really since geez, I don't know, 2003, 4. So pathetic. Law of averages says we're going to get sometime. I hope. All right. So talking climate, these are El Nino plots. top four and then the next two show strong El Nino years. What was the temperature trend across the United States? What were the temperatures across the US during the course of winter? Okay. And as you are not surprised, I would think it's been warm. Okay, when the El Nino is strongest, the northern US tends to be pretty warm. Not every year, but 5 out of 6, Pennsylvania was above average. Oh, yeah, well, talking. Kristen, you're talking. But anyway, that's the one, 57, 58 is the one where Pennsylvania was below average. You get to moderate El Ninos and weaker El Ninos. It's not you're not guaranteed a warm winter. But, and you're not guaranteed any time, you're guaranteed to be alive tomorrow, but I mean, hopefully, we can break that trend. So where is the El Nino and where's the forecast? It's expected to be strong during the winter months, over 2 degrees Celsius. And so if you like a cold winter, it's not a great sign. El Nino is not the only thing that influences weather. There's hope. Something else is out there, but just keeping this simple. If you're just looking at ENSO, then winter looks like it'll be warm. Heck, if you're doing law of averages, though, last winter was so warm, you'd expect we've got to get a cold one sometime. But that's not what it appears is going to happen. So we'll get back to El Nino in a little bit. So now we talked about climate, what you expect, weather's what you get. So we will move in to that realm. Okay, I'm going to use the following sites. I'll look at Weather Prediction Center briefly, the E-Wall, Tropical Tidbits. I won't go to the Climate Prediction Center, but some of the graphics at the end of the PowerPoint are from the Climate Prediction Center. And then the Myers Weather Center homepage, because it has such riveting and strong graphics. I just have to show you that because, man, that web page just pops. So, well, there's data on it that I want to talk about. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to do is come out of there and then let's go to the Weather Prediction Center. All right. So first thing I think I'd like to look at here, forecast tools. And you can see all kinds of good stuff. Marissa did a discussion and went through all kinds of WPC fun stuff. I'll just look at some really basic plots here of temperature. Okay, so today's expected high temperature is going to be below average in Pennsylvania, especially Western Pennsylvania. High elevations, good 10 degrees below the long-term, well, the 30-year average. 56, if you believe it, would be our high, probably close. But it's much warmer out west. So you'd expect, what would you expect the 500 millibar pattern to look like with the temperature signal like that? Where, you know, ridge in the kind of the west, trough in the east, sure, of course. So let's just keep looking at the maxes through the week. Our departures trend toward normal. Okay, and by Thursday, I mean, is that good news or bad news? Certainly there's a pretty good gradient near Pennsylvania at that time. So what does that imply? Is very near central Pennsylvania at that time. What weather feature, what boundary would we be talking about? Dennis. Yeah, it's a front anyway, and probably a warm front. Okay, go to Friday. Yeah, probably a warm front. Eastern Pennsylvania looks chilly. Western Pennsylvania looks warm. It's coming into winter. This happens a lot. Okay, warm air can get to the west of the mountains. Cold air gets kind of stuck. And then you get to Saturday. Oof. All right, looks chilly. So what's causing that? Well, we'll take a look. Okay, going back here, QPF. Well, so there's a big blob of rain, pretty heavy rain predicted to move across out of the Gulf, across the southern US, while the storm system organizes in the Rockies and then moves off to the east. So those are the two weather makers this week, one which will affect us, one which won't. And you can see the heavy rain down in Florida, well, the Gulf Coast, moves out first, and then this system approaches from the west. Looks like it's kind of going to our north. And then there's some kind of secondary development, and it rains pretty hard in eastern Pennsylvania. If you look at the 1 to 7 day totals, you can see the influence of those two systems. Swath of heavy precipitation with that northern stream energy, and then this is your tropical. The Hurricane Center, I think, has a 10% chance of something developing down here. But it looks like there's enough westerly flow that all this moisture, when it gets northward, it's going to get ripped across the southern states and cause some pretty heavy rain. So this is just classic for the winter. You can see lighter precipitation in southwestern Pennsylvania, and then more off to the north and east, where there might be secondary development of a low pressure center. Okay, so let's look at those low pressure centers. Oh, let's go to 0Z, because I like to look at the, this is the E-wall, of course. I hope you're familiar with that. Here's the Euro. Here's the 500 millibar on the upper left and surface on the upper right. That's what we'll stick with here. So what do you see? A big pig of a low over just north of Lake Superior. Okay. I mean, a lot of closed contours around that cutoff low. And relatively low thicknesses below 540 in the vicinity of that. That makes sense. Put it into motion. Let's just go through the week. That it really doesn't change much. Okay, that low tends to fill. There are little spokes of vorticity. I mean, however you want to look at it, but little disturbances wrapping around that low that can occasionally increase our cloudiness at unpredictable times, but it doesn't look like they're going to bring any rain or snow to Pennsylvania before that system, which is out in the northwest now, drops in and kind of starts kicking out that pig to our north, and then it's going to ride eastward across the US. And the European, anyway, from 0Z is fairly aggressive with this, but it does hold off rain until Saturday. Okay, at least anything heavy. So if you're looking at the European, what do you see? You see some pretty darn heavy rain in southeastern Pennsylvania between 18Z and Saturday and 0Z Sunday. Anything happening then that you know about? Is there a football game?
Saturday,
At what time does the game start?
3:30.
Oh, that's 1930Z. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry I don't have season tickets anymore. The weather looks great. Okay, but you know, that's only one model, right? And it's deterministic. So let's look at another one if I can figure out what the heck I'm doing. Okay. Let's look at the GFS. The American. We're Americans. Let's go what the American model says. Put it into motion. Well, it's pretty similar. I mean, the graphics are different, but it's not quite as burly. There's not as much QPF for this. There's still plenty. This is Saturday morning. This is Friday evening. So after 8 o'clock, anything measurable holds off, according to this run of the GFS. So the Euro and GFS are hinting that maybe Friday's parade gets in without too much crappy weather. And then Saturday morning looks wet. Saturday afternoon, maybe a little bit drier. What do you see? A low coming up to our northwest and then secondary development to our southeast. So there's going to be an occluded front in there.
Sorry.
Oh.
Continue. Something happened to the screen share.
Oh, okay, yeah. So anyways, well, now it's gone. There's no occlusion. The occlusion disappeared.
Okay, you're all good. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let me pull up the occlusion again. Sorry. It's all right. Glad you picked it up. I don't see it.
The point for the two people on this.
There's two.
Yeah.
Wait, there's one of you?
One, but there's three, so there's two besides.
Oh.
Awesome. All right. So you can imagine an occluded front running between these two lows, and the axis being to our southwest is an 18Z. Precipitation generally on the northeast side of that. So by 0Z, man, it's close. Okay. It's like it's not racing through. So that may not bode well for the game. But, you know, that's something we'll just have to watch out for. And then I won't go any farther with that. I'd rather look at different ensembles going into the longer term. So weather looks decent the next few days. And then as that warm front sets up, temperature gradient increases near us, it gets less certain. Okay, it's harder to predict come Thursday. And Friday and Saturday, at some point, there'll be a good period of rain, pretty heavy, I suspect. If it's timed well, Saturday morning is when most of it'll fall. That's my hope. And that's, there's a suggestion that that could well happen. All right, so tropical tidbits, go to the ensembles and take a look at, let's look at the European first. Okay, so our 500 millibar heights are pretty far below average. And amazingly, it's also colder than average at the surface. That kind of goes hand in hand. You can watch that Pacific Northwestern system moving in. Okay, well, that system just slowly fills off to our north. Our heights don't really get above average, though, before that next system comes in. And then when you're going out in the longer range, if anything, the anomalies build. I'll go to 0Z again, sorry. And we fall even farther below average for 500 millibar heights. So what does this say? I'm not expecting it to be especially warm for any protracted time over the next week or two. Also notice how the model kind of trends toward climatology as you go farther out. That's just how they work. Essentially, if you see a big departure at 360 hours, get scared. Because timing changes, and so you might have a low in Kansas on one run and a ridge there on another run, and it kind of cancels out. So as you go farther out in time, you tend to approach climatology with these things. GFS, not a different idea here. Pig fills, it's had its food, it's gone, and then the next one comes in, strengthens, and we're not on the business end of it though. For most of the time. Okay, the trough axis is to our east, but it's still cold aloft, and I wouldn't expect it to be very warm near the surface. Ridge to the west, those are usually well forecasted by models, so trough to the east makes a lot of sense. So the GFS holds it for a couple of weeks. All right, so we'll go back to the PowerPoint next. Now, is this going to work is my question. Tell me in 7 seconds, Christian, if you still see this. Okay, well, I don't want to see that. Okay, so we'll go to the forecast. All right. So based on what we talked about, there's some climate prediction center stuff to the right we'll get to. Cool breeze today, not as breezy as yesterday. Mix of clouds and sun. It will stay dry and be in the 50s. There was lake effect showers around, as you know. About an inch of rain. Jamestown, New York seemed to be one of the higher measurements. Erie was around a little less than a quarter inch, I think. East of Lake Ontario, I think they had some pretty good rains. There were some flood warnings out for a while, or at least a flood watch near Oswego. So 10 degrees colder. Could have had some good snow, but they'll get theirs. So below average today, 5 to 10 degrees. Tonight, dry, mix of moon and clouds. Might as well be fair to the moon. Say the same wording. About 40, 30s, outlying areas, as the wind is probably going to be going calm for a time. Bit more sunshine tomorrow, a bit less wind, bit warmer. And then let's repeat that for Wednesday. Get to the low 60s, hopefully. That may be a little optimistic, but so tomorrow and Wednesday look pretty good. I think middle of the week when you really can't enjoy the outside, probably. Then the uncertainty starts increasing as that warm front begins to congeal and the temperature gradient increases. I'm going to go out on a limb and think the warm front will be just to our north, at least on Thursday. The scary thing is there's a high pressure system in Canada trying to nose in from the north. That's exciting in the winter to bring snow, but that could push the warm front just far enough south so we're on the cruddy end. I think that will happen for a time Thursday night, but hopefully Thursday we stay mostly cloudy, probably dry. Go for the low 60s, be optimistic. And then I think there's 100% chance of homecoming Friday and Saturday. So that's the take home. You could bank on that. But seriously, I think Friday right now favors dry weather. However, with a warm front nearby, a few miles different, and we could be in a drizzly, kind of cruddy, 50s and drizzle, maybe a little bit of light rain. So let's hope again that doesn't happen. Right now, it does look okay. Saturday looks wet, especially in the morning. The hope remains that the heaviest stuff, the occlusion axis, the trough axis goes by just around the beginning of the game. But tailgating weather doesn't look too good for Saturday. And again, cool 50s. So week 2, what do we see? The Climate Prediction Center is going for colder than average, a decent chance of it for 6 to 10 day, and then when you go a little bit farther out, the axis of coldest weather shifts a little south. So okay, that's fine. What about October and the rest of the winter? Well, here's October. Okay, so we have the next 2 weeks, not a guarantee, but many of the days will probably be below average, and a few of them significantly below, especially in the high temperatures. And then the CPC forecast from September 30th fairly strongly hinted at warmer than average temperatures and below average precipitation. Okay, well, first of all, that was done September 30th when we were under a ridge, and it was going to persist for a while, and it did, and so it didn't rain much beginning of October, and it was warm. In fact, our departure to date is, I think we're about 7 degrees above average for the month. So we have 9 days at 7 degrees above average. It's going to take some work to get us back below average. We're going to get a lot closer to normal before this cold snap ends, but it's a question of whether we continue with the cold weather into the end of the month, or it kind of lets up the third or fourth week of the month. So, but this is not exciting looking for anything. But that storm on Saturday, a little farther south, warm front stays south of us, we get 2 inches of rain from that. And that's good with the ½ inch we already have, we're close to average. So this forecast can go down in flames fairly quickly, but it's not a given. Winter. Okay. People in the back row, when I look at a precipitation map like this, tell me where I'm going wrong, or what else it could be. Because I see heavier precipitation chances along the coast, lighter as you go to the Great Lakes. We're kind of in this zone where we don't know what the heck's going to happen. But does that suggest to you coastal storms would be more likely?
Yes.
Good. That's what I'm thinking. So if we could drive them inland just a little bit and time it so that the rare times that it's colder than average in an El Nino winter, we could end up with a decent snowstorm or two. And we probably will if this pattern holds. So there's hope. But again, when you go back a couple, oh, did I just kill it? No. Go back to this El Nino plot. All right. You see those asterisks, strong El Nino years, the average snowfall. I mean, 4 of the years were 2 feet or less, 4 out of 6. So, maybe we get 1.5 foot snowstorm and we're done for this winter. Hard to say. I certainly have no faith in a long range forecasting. But given what's happened lately, the law of averages in me says we've got to get a big year sometime. El Nino statistics say it's probably not this coming season. And that, my friends, is what I have for you for the next week and a half, and then a little guess for farther out. So thanks for your time. Any questions? Any questions? Criticisms? Oh, Marissa's not in a good mood. I want her to ask me.
I'd like to think about this winter. That's what I've also been hearing, I've been considering too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for it to be snowy. Some of us here would too. Most normal people would.
I'll take 1 day.
I just hate the brown,
Well, yeah.
but that's just me. Most people, I think, prefer not falling on their butts when they have to go out, walk around campus.
I'm sick of the mixed precip events.
Yeah, going to,
Yeah, that could happen quite a lot with this
Yeah.
overrunning. It's possible. Other questions? Anything else?
You promised us an amazing Myers weather center.
Ben.
Graphic.
Oh, well. Ben, you are on point. Yes. Okay, so the Joel and Myers Weather Center page. Okay, but wait, let me go to the homepage, because look at that. What do you see on here? Oh, Ben. Oh, we see Ben.
That's not why I wanted this to come up.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. I just want to say it. Look at these clean lines, okay, non-confusing, left justified. Man, this is, okay, I wrote it 25 years ago and that's all I can do. So sue me, all right? Anyway. Yeah, so why is October trending warm with the CPC? Well, again, there's 6.7 degrees. You can't even see it, I know. Above average, whoops, for the month to date. There, second line. So you've got what, 9 times 7, 63 degrees. You got to work out of the system before you go below average for the month. So the odds are against it, even though we're going to have a protracted, reasonably cold stretch. There, okay. But if you want state college statistics, you can go to this page and find a few things. Anyway, when I retire, someone can make it sexy. Thank you, Ben. Anybody else? All right.
What are you doing on the Twitter?
Twitter?
What's that?
Where?
X.
Oh, Christian, you sound like Ben. Yeah, this is something, Campus Weather Service. Yeah, who's the president of that? Yes, and of course, if you want a first-rate weather forecast, go to the Campus Weather Twitter page, any page you want. Find all kinds of good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.